Knoxville, Tennessee. It is right in the heart of the Southland, and it's where one of the most beloved college football programs calls itself home. Neyland Stadium is home to the Tennessee Volunteers, a staple of the SEC, and they have one of the most devoted fan bases in all of college football. But hard times have fallen upon the Vols in recent years, with coaching biffs such as Derek Dooley, Lane Kiffin, Butch Jones, and most recently, Jeremy Pruitt. Pruitt took over after Tennessee let go of Butch Jones, and Butch since went to the Nick Saban Rehabilitation Coaching Clinic and is now the head coach at Arkansas State. Pruitt was a big name at Georgia, Florida State, and Alabama before he became the head coach of the Volunteers, but he had a lot of shortcomings and couldn't do any better than Jones did, and in fact did a lot worse. While Pruitt did have the longest winning streak in the SEC at one point, they were often wins over inferior teams. Regardless, Tennessee fans were happy to see their Vols end on a win streak in 2019 after an abysmal start in which they dropped a horrible game at home to Georgia State and a heartbreaking game to Zach Wilson and BYU. Tennessee opened up the 2020 season with 2 good wins over South Carolina and Missouri, but after that, and after halftime of the Georgia game, the wheels fell off, and they went 2 months without a win until they got their final win of the year, routing Vanderbilt 42-17. After the season ended, many wondered what the future held for Coach Pruitt, as he was on the hot seat in the fan base for regressing for the year prior. But that question would get answered in the coming months as Pruitt was relieved of his coaching duties after evidence of paying recruits came into the light and all the McDonald's memes started to happen. So yeah, I've done plenty of Tennessee videos, but today I just want to talk about basically what happened with the investigation, what the future for Pruitt and the program looks like, and we're going to talk about the McDonald's bags. But first, if you love college football, then this is 100% the channel for you, as I'll be posting multiple quality videos every single day this summer and for the coming months, and you definitely won't want to miss out before we get big on this channel. If you want to support what I'm doing here and make things a little bit easier for my videos to get in the algorithm, please consider hitting that like button, suggesting another topic that I could do next, and share it with your other Tennessee friends. Before we get into it, be sure to turn on post notifications and check out all my different series, as I've left links to all my different playlists down in the comment section. Now let's get started and talk about Tennessee football. Jeremy Pruitt and linebackers coach Brian Niedermeyer and Shelton Felton were all let go hours after investigation into the allegation of paying recruits. The evidence was called stunning by Chancellor Plowman, and he stated that the investigation started in-house on November 13th of 2020 after a credible verbal allegation of violations came to her attention, and that the NCAA got involved around December. Athletic director and former coach Philip Fulmer resigned as well, just around the same time. Though he was getting old in age, we did not know if he had anything to do with the violations. Some of the allegations included recruiters putting money into empty McDonald's bags when the recruit would come to Knoxville for a campus visit, which shocked a lot of Volunteers fans who wanted nothing more for their team to just compete for SEC titles and become a college football power once again. Chancellor Plowman stated that the program was going to start doing things the right way, and that the program had been cutting corners before she arrived and after she arrived. The NCAA has not yet laid out any punishment for the volunteer program as of yet, but I seriously doubt they get away scotch-free with the recruiting violations as serious as they were. But luckily for Tennessee fans, the future is looking somewhat bright. After Fulmer's retirement, they were in need of a new athletic director, and for a long time, it looked as if the search was going nowhere. But the Vols landed on former Buffalo and UCF athletic director Danny White. While this hiring may have seemed random, White had a very good recommendation from a Tennessee legend, Peyton Manning. Manning and current Duke coach David Cutcliffe had a very good relationship, and when David was asked the question, "What do you say Tennessee should look for in an athletic director?" Cutcliffe replied, quote, "I look for a man like Kevin White." Kevin White was Duke's recently retired athletic director and also happens to be Danny White's father. While at UCF, White oversaw the hiring of head football coach Scott Frost, who led UCF to a 13-0 record. His first big media fame came when he declared UCF as the national champions when they had not made the college football playoff, even though they definitely should have gotten in because there should be 8 teams in the college football playoff. Regardless, White threw them a parade at Disney World and even gave them rings to commemorate the national championship victory. Tennessee fans should be happy they have an athletic director willing to embarrass himself to make his student athletes and fan base look like kings and queens. He also wants to win. After 2017, Scott Frost would leave for Nebraska, and Josh Heupel was brought in as UCF's new head football coach. He went 12-1 in his first year as the head man, and has only lost in a 40-32 loss to LSU in a bowl game. After White took the Tennessee job, it was then his responsibility to find the Volunteers a new head football coach. Throughout the process, plenty of names were thrown around, such as Lane Kiffin, Gus Malzahn, Scott Frost, James Franklin, and other guys with SEC experience, but White ultimately settled on his former coach at UCF, Josh Heupel. Vols fans had mixed feelings about the hire, to be honest, as some thought they should have taken someone with more SEC experience who would guarantee wins in their mind. But I think a fresh, offensive-minded coach is great for a rebuilding program. As a Mizzou fan, Heupel was there as the quarterback's coach and offensive coordinator when Drew Lock would have his breakout year, and because Missouri was sort of in a rebuild mode as well, I thought his style of offense at least kept Missouri competitive in games, and it was a lot better than watching a lot of shutouts, like they did the year prior. Also, Tennessee seems to have an abundance of quarterback talent. They have one of the biggest guys to ever come out of Georgia in Harrison Bailey, Brian Maurer, who has some experience, the guy with all the potential from Michigan and Joe Milton, Caden Salter, and even Virginia Tech transfer Hendon Hooker. He'll have 5 options to test, and even though Salter may not be on the team this fall, if he does, he will compete as well. I do believe that out of those 5 guys, one dude will be pretty good, and whoever the Volunteers start at quarterback this year will strive under a new offensive scheme that Heupel puts in place. Of the quarterbacks named, Harrison Bailey looks to be the most confident in the offense during the team's orange and white spring game. He went 12 for 15 for 260 yards and 2 touchdowns, and while a spring game isn't the best indicator of how good or bad a team will perform, it is a good way to see who is the most comfortable. Tennessee fans may not be used to the fast-paced, high-scoring football games, seeing as Tennessee traditionally is a hard-nosed defensive football team, but as of recently, that hasn't really worked out anymore, and even Nick Saban has changed his philosophy at Alabama, so it's time for Tennessee to move in a new direction. Rocky Top tradition will always be in the center of the fan base, but an offensive twist will do great things for the program, and I believe more Tennessee fans will come around to it. If a team's rebuilding, I'd rather lose a game 40-32 than lose a game 28-0. If you can put up points, you can at least somewhat compete and maybe get some lucky stops on defense, and defense will be a top priority for Heupel going into next year. As a soft-spoken Volunteers fan, I cannot help but be upset with the way the program was headed, as I really like those guys that were on the Butch Jones teams, and especially that 2016 squad. Recruiting violations can be a very serious punishment, and the fan base has been through enough as is. Bad coaching hires, bad recruiting classes, and losing games you should win, while coming up just short in some potential miracle wins, the Volunteers fan base has remained as loyal as they've ever been, and they expect nothing but success. I believe that Danny White and Josh Heupel will rebuild the Tennessee program, and one day they'll be competing for the SEC East, and maybe even SEC championship games again. While the future looked very dark at the beginning of this year in Rocky Top, they have found the light at the end of the tunnel. We do not know how badly Pruitt's recruiting violations were and how it will affect the future of the program, but to be able to get a solid athletic director and a head coach after that is a blessing for the program and is a lot better than the spot they were in. So overall, Tennessee was in a really bad spot, had some shady recruiting violations, bad coaching hires, and a fan base who wants nothing but success. And now they have a good chance of rising to a much higher level than they've seen, and they're at least going to put some points up, and at least hopefully get some fans excited. I think in a couple of years, they'll get back to the level they were with guys like Josh Dobbs and Jalen Hurd. Maybe they'll even be able to take the next step. As a Mizzou fan, I'm really excited for where the SEC East is headed, as Georgia and Florida are perennial blue bloods in the conference. Missouri's had a couple SEC East titles back in the day, and Elijah Drinkwitz is doing a great job right now. Mark Stoops is continuing to build Kentucky, and if Josh Heupel can do what I think he can do at Tennessee, I'd like to see 5 teams competing, and I think that'd be really fun. I don't think Shane Beamer is that great of a hire at South Carolina, and I do think they will struggle for a couple of years, and Clark Lee may make Vanderbilt somewhat relevant, but they definitely won't be competing. But yeah, today's video was about Tennessee and sort of what was going on with them and their future, and if you're a Volunteers fan, tell me what you think of the entire Pruitt situation, and what your expectations are for the 2021 season. Be sure to let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Subscribe if you're new here, suggest what topic I could do next, hit that like button to support today's video so more people can see it, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, including my video about the most dysfunctional moments in Tennessee football history. I hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.